So here's our rack from the SpeedPro kinetic splitter. This tooth here broke. So I'm gonna try and attempt a repair to that, and that's just gonna be a weld up and regrind to this profile. So we'll see if it works. If not, that's $500 rack. I'd rather save the money, spend it on something else. Picked up some E110 18M, which is a low alloy rod. That should be a good match. That rack's a 4130 material, and this is just slightly stronger than that, so should be a good match. And then this is a general purpose hard facing electrode that I want to go through on top, but I'll build this tooth up with that E110 18 as far as I can. Then I'll just put a light covering just for wear resistance on top of that hard facing. And hopefully that won't end up chipping off on me. But the good news is this is fairly square profile, so I should be able to recreate it. And we'll see what happens. We'll put a little preheat on it first, hit it with a weld, and then the hard facing, grind it to the correct profile. Hopefully I won't have any cracks. I'll have to over weld in here just so I don't, because there's a good opportunity for getting a crack initiation there on the base metal where I deposit the new weld. So it'll be, the hope is to build this up past the root and then grind out a new root so it doesn't have an initial crack started in there. So that's the plan. We'll see what happens. So here's the first pass is a E110 18 rod. It's a little bit low, which is fine. I'm going to put the hard facing pass on next. Pass on top. Well, pass on the side, then a pass on top. Probably not going to put one on this side, since it shouldn't be coming into contact with the pinion a whole lot there. Just want to protect the side that's seeing the wear. So we'll put that on a pass, two passes, one on the side, one on the top, and then we'll go into the grind. See how it turns out. I'm seeing a little bit, I wish I had a little bit better blend, I guess, down on the root. A little less than what I like. That's not going to be helpful, but if I have to do it again, I'll grind it out and build it up with a better blend. So, learning process. Hard facing passes are in. Could have been better. A little bit of porosity on this side. Looks good on that side. Height wise, I got a fair amount of grind out to do on the top and the side to profile. So I think it's worth a shot at this point, and we'll see how it turns out. So I'm going to give this a shot. Definitely not perfect by any means. I'm a little thin on top here on the tooth, more than I'd like, but the pressure is from the right side onto the tooth, and I think that profile is within reason. The other side doesn't look quite as bad. I got a little touch of porosity in there. Hopefully that's just at that point, not deeper in. Now I just see if I can try the rack on the pinion, see how it moves. Hopefully there won't be a lot of dragging, or otherwise I'll have to continue to touch it up, and I'm trying to remove as minimal material as possible just to keep that strength in that tooth. So like I said, it's worth a shot. The height came out fairly good, I think.
Like I said, a little thin on here, okay on the other side.
Angles, I don't know. They look within reason. I think it'll work. Update on the SpeedPro kinetic splitter. Last we left off, I was waiting on the clutch. That's off of a DR splitter. Interesting thing to note about that is it makes the ratio between the engine and the flywheels about 11 to 1 versus the 5.3 to 1 on the old clutch. So it's less than half the diameter on the belts, on the pitch diameter. Got the Hots diesel mounted. Turned out okay. Had to extend this down here a couple inches just to catch the side of the engine. This is a little bit wider than the other one. And these are nice little engines if you can ever get a hold of them. I actually picked that up off of a military centrifugal pump, and the rings were stuck on the piston, so put a new set of rings in. And these also come with what's called an X shaft, so it allows you to interchange the output between tapered, or in this case it's a 3/4 inch shaft, and then they also make a 1 inch standard keyed shaft for that as well. So nice little engine. They have automatic decompression on them. There's essentially no compression at this point. Has decompression on both the intake and exhaust if you have it adjusted right. It's really sensitive to that, so they have to be definitely within spec, otherwise it'll pull back on the cord on you. So anyway, about 6.5 horse, I think 12 foot-pounds of torque. With the clutch that's on there now, it will run up to 3,800 RPM, and I think what's 3,800 divided by 11, whatever that is. I think it'll run the flywheels up to 340 or something like that. So that's good. That keeps us in that target 300 RPM range. So I think the engine's most efficient around 2,200 RPM, and but that takes the flywheel speed down to around 200 or so, around there. I don't remember what all the numbers, how they all work out, but that's where we're at. So I did change the keys in them. Mentioned maybe in the last video, I can't remember. This is a nylon 3/8 square. That fits into the key slot pretty good. So I put a nylon key on the other side, and then I did use aluminum on this side because it is getting driven by the engine, so I don't want it to shear too easily. But I do want it to shear if it does come into contact where it stops it immediately. The other keys are in my garage, but the other option, you can just cut the key down. What's interesting to note is the cross-sectional area of the key that takes up the slot in the flywheel is roughly the same cross-sectional area of the teeth on the rack. So I don't know what the key material is. It might just be a A36 type steel or whatever, but definitely you'd want that to shear before the keys, or before the rack teeth. So if that's a strong material, if it's similar to 4130 or something, you definitely, having two of them like that is gonna not shear before your teeth do on the rack. So that's definitely something you want to weak in some way, shape, or form. If you use the original key, the nice thing about that is then you cut it in half, you automatically got a spare in case you do shear it. So I just opted for these just for giggles and kicks. I painted this stuff yellow just to keep it from rusting, or painted it just to keep it from rusting, but I painted it yellow so it's a little bit easier to see too. So hopefully that shows up. I did redo the trip mechanism. Originally I was hooking underneath closer to the center line of the bolt for the bearings. The problem with that is because it has so much movement in the when it it trips, and then when it's enabled, that it ends up basically mauling the or just messing up the spring, bending it all up, or whatever you happen to have in there, the wire. So just ended up hooking it into this is a split pin in there, and I just put the ends of this are just set in there, so it makes a little axle, allows this to go up and down. I found out you do need something to support it when you pick up the handle, because what will happen is these parts here will come back, and even though I built a little ramp on here to try to pick up that catch, you'll smack it so hard it'll start deforming it, and then it won't work as well. So you need something like that's on there to pick that up, so it clears it on the return stroke. This still, I'm not completely happy with it. It's hard. It doesn't want to stay centered on the rack, so it's at times it will still miss the spike or the catch that a rester hook, I guess, that I built on here. I can't pull this out far enough, but I think I caught that in another video. But anyway, there's the rester hook. I know it's hard to see, but anyway, so it's okay. If it runs to the end, and you just got to manually pick it up. So I can live with that, I guess. Hopefully this will work more times than not. The other option I was thinking about doing is, if you ever seen those keychain retracting wire spring, I can't even say it, but the thing that pulls the keys back to your belt, you hook on your belt, you could put something on here and route it around so it would come to the front of or somewhere on the ram here. And then as it got to the end of the stroke, it would get to the end of you'd have to keep the distance so that would actually pull all the way out, and then pull the keychain retractor out, and then trip this assembly here in the same fashion with a heavier spring that doesn't give until it's to the end of the wire. So again, it's the hardest thing of this whole thing is getting that trip mechanism to work, and I'm still not 100% happy with that, but it's gonna have to do. So that's about it. We'll run it here a little bit. The other thing I noticed, and I still gotta do yet, is this the splitting wedge on here is awfully blunt compared to what I noticed on my hydraulic splitter. So we'll sharpen that up. I mean, that's a good 16th, 3/32 flat there, and it should be sharp. I'm sure it was made to be a little bit safer, although at this point I don't know if it really matters much to get your hand in there, but sharpening that up will definitely help. So I'll run a grinding wheel on there and sharpen that up a little bit, so give this every chance it can to run. So that's kind of where we're at. I'll go ahead and start this up, run it a couple times. Like I said, the trip may not work all the time. I'm seeing it run around 95% of the time it works, and the other time you gotta trip it by hand. So not the end of the world. Could be made better. I don't think I'm going to spend any more time with it. So I don't know. Here we go. The other nice thing about this clutch and the ratio of it is you can actually, well, the other engine you can't really slow down much more than around 2,000 RPM, because and I don't know if they did that on purpose or not, but it hits the kill switch. That can be adjusted, obviously, but you know, this engine will probably idle down to, I don't know, 600-700 RPM, I would guess, if you really play with it. And the clutch will disengage probably, I'm guessing, around 1,000 or so. So it's nice you can start it up and it won't start the flywheels until you speed it up, and then you can always just idle it down and it'll come down. So I'm still learning where the minimum rack setting is on this, but we'll give her a try here. So that's pretty low. I don't know what that is, but it's probably 600 or 700 RPM. So that's kind of a nice feature. So I overfilled the fuel a little bit, got it coming out the tank. Anyway, this thing opened up, her full fuel is about 3,800 RPM, which is probably a little faster than I really am going to run it. I'll probably be in the 2,600 RPM range, and then be just below 300 RPM on the flywheels. So that's about it. Again, sharpen up this wedge. The cover still fits. It's a little tricky to get on, but I didn't have to modify it anyway. So that's good. And how long this is going to last, I don't know. We'll see. Hope I don't have to go in and out of there steady to be filling with it, but it's proven to be that way so far. But so just to explain this a little more too, I just put some hose clamps on here to stiffen up that wire, because what happens is when it catches that arrestor hook, it just straightens it out. So you need something to really keep, something that's more of a spring action that'll come back and return to its starting position there. So that's where we're at. Appreciate you watching. Hope this can maybe give you some ideas, and if you copy it, great, and it works. I hope it saves you some time, because I spent way too much time on this, but I'm stubborn and wanted to see it work. So I'll update when I split some wood sometime, and keep the forum posted if I break some more teeth, and at least I know I have a hope of repairing it. Whether it's good or not, I don't know. Time will tell. So thanks for watching. Good luck if you have something like this, and any questions, post them to the arborist site forum, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability.